Hey guys, let's get more news about Miami Heat, but first, don't forget to subscribe and leave your like. How the Miami Heat are a cautionary tale for the Pelicans. The New Orleans Pelicans are in bad shape, both literally and figuratively. In the literal sense, this team's injury report is virtually a full listing of their entire rotation. Aside from Brandon Ingram, almost every single player who figures to suit up for the Pelicans in the playoffs has spent time in the infirmary: Zion Williamson, DeJounte Murray, C.J. McCollum, Herb Jones, Trey Murphy III, and Jordan Hawkins. New Orleans has struggled to tread water amid all of these injuries. Through the first tenth of the season, the Pelicans sit at just 3-5, 14th in the Western Conference, ahead of just the Utah Jazz. The West is absolutely stacked this year, evidenced by the 10 teams currently at .500 or better at this point in the season. With the Pelicans flailing and the campaign raging on, there's a fear that the hole this team is digging itself into will be too abysmal for them to climb out from even with all of their core players available again. The injuries that New Orleans has been dealing with have been incredibly devastating and a legitimate reason for why the team is underperforming, but that hasn't stopped fans and analysts from clamoring for head coach Willie Green's seat. Willie Green took over a 31-win team and led them through steady improvements every single year so far. He's done that while working with some severely flawed rosters and against a litany of injuries, including to his star players in Zion and Ingram. This season, he was given a team with practically no center depth and has again had to deal with having a massive chunk of his players sidelined. But there hasn't been much patience or grace for Green and his 3-5 Pelicans. Another team that's struggled this season has been the Miami Heat, who currently sit at 3-3 with their only wins coming against the Detroit Pistons, Charlotte Hornets, and Washington Wizards. There's not much reason for panic, though, as the Heat have been notoriously slow starters and even underperformers in the regular season. There aren't many opposing fans who would want to face Miami in the playoffs. The Heat have earned that respect by going to the finals twice during the Jimmy Butler era. Miami head coach Erik Spoelstra has essentially locked up his job security by leading those finals runs along with the 2 championships he won with the Heat. But it wasn't always that way. LeBron James famously wanted to dispose of Spoelstra following the Heat's collapse against the Dallas Mavericks in the 2011 NBA Finals. But Miami president Pat Riley overruled the king himself and put his faith in Spoelstra, and it's paid off handsomely. Today, Spoelstra is universally regarded as one of the best coaches in the league and a mastermind tactician. If it weren't for his reputation and the Heat's postseason success, it's hard to see him being heralded as a top play caller with his results. After all, they've only won more than 50 games once since LeBron left town, and Miami is consistently middle of the road in terms of record, offensive rating, and defensive rating. Despite Spoelstra's status as an expert with the XS and OS, the Heat often go through offensive bogs, extended stretches where they struggle to generate consistent offense. These scoring droughts are a big reason why Miami isn't consistently at the top of the standings and a main motivator for their pursuit of Damian Lillard 2 summers ago. They should also be extremely familiar to the Pelicans and their fans, as their team regularly suffers from these periods as well. The parallels don't end there. Like New Orleans, the Heat fail to consistently pour in buckets due to their personnel. In this current era, they're led by Jimmy Butler, a point forward who's mostly a non-shooter and does his best offensive work as an orchestrator, slasher, and mid-range magician, and Bam Adebayo, an athletic marvel of a big man who's a consistent mismatch for both bigger and smaller players due to his blend of size and skill. The Pelicans are similarly built around Zion and Ingram, 2 great offensive talents with overlapping skills that make it difficult for both to maximize their potential. Dwayne Wade almost left the Heat before LeBron James told him he was joining. Dwayne Wade spoke recently on Udonis Haslem's OG show about the formation of the Big Three. Wade noted that in 2010, he was ready to leave the Miami Heat in free agency, and was about to sign elsewhere until LeBron James called him to inform him that he would be signing with the Heat so that they could play together. "I was actually leaving Miami at that time. I didn't think that nobody out there that we could get was going to help us get to that level. Not that they weren't good players, just that they weren't good enough. At that time I wanted to be a part of a team that could win. For me, my hometown team, Bulls, could win. I'm going back home." That was my mentality going into free agency outside of Miami. Then I got the call from number 6. Wade did note that LeBron's decision to team up with him did not guarantee a stay with the Heat, as both players considered joining the Chicago Bulls, as they were a promising young team, led by Derrick Rose at the time. But in the end, the duo signed with the Miami Heat, and were joined by fellow All-Star Chris Bosh. The move turned out to be very beneficial for all three players and the Miami Heat, as the franchise went to 4 consecutive NBA Finals during their time together and won 2 NBA championships in 2012 and 2013. LeBron James had the best run of his career with the Heat, as he won 2 more MVPs in 2012 and 2013. Wade, James, and Bosh teaming up with each other was the start of the player empowerment era, as players would follow in their lead in the future and use free agency to team up with each other. In the same podcast, Dwayne Wade also spoke about the signing of Chris Bosh. Wade revealed that he and LeBron James knew well before that they wanted Chris Bosh to be the third for their big three, and added that the trio had met privately several times before they formalized the signing to make it happen. "We went from that to let's get in person, let's have a conversation. We already knew the other player if it was 3, who we would like to play with. His name was Christopher Bosh. We just let Chris know that we're having this meeting to talk about some stuff, let's talk about it. We had a secret meeting in a secret location." The decision to team up together on the Heat was a big one, not just for Wade, James, and Bosh, but for the entire NBA, as it set the stage for the rest of the league to follow suit, and allow the players to make decisions about their careers and teammates for the years to come. Wade, James, and Bosh formed arguably the greatest trio in NBA history and experienced incredible success during their time together. Fresh Giannis Antetokounmpo to Miami Heat claim made as Milwaukee Bucks fall apart. The Milwaukee Bucks are a win-now team with a 1-6 record and sitting at the bottom of the Eastern Conference. Naturally, questions have been raised about the future of Giannis Antetokounmpo, and the Miami Heat are one of the teams he has been heavily linked with. No superstar wants to spend their prime years on a team that cannot compete. The Bucks are coming off back-to-back first-round exits from the playoffs, and unless they improve drastically, they might not even make the postseason this time around. If he were to leave the Bucks, where would he end up? While other teams around the league might be better placed to offer a satisfactory trade package, the Heat continue to be prominently linked with a move for Giannis. According to Adam Zagoria on NJ.com, one Western Conference League source told NJ Advance Media about Giannis, "The only places I can see him going are Miami or the LA Clippers." The time might be coming for the Heat to make a tough decision as well. They showed immense trust in their roster over the summer, not making any significant changes despite a first-round exit from the playoffs last season. Unfortunately, the Heat's start to the season has failed to justify that trust. They are 3-3, their playing style feels disjointed, and they seem incapable of competing with truly elite teams. So, it might be time to shake things up soon if things do not start improving, and what better way to do that than to bring in a proven superstar like Giannis? Of course, finding a suitable trade package for Giannis would be difficult for the Heat, and they might need to say goodbye to a large part of their core, including Bam Adebayo, to make it happen. Would the risk be worth it? But then, if this team cannot win, what do the organization have to lose? And you fan? What do you think of the situation of Antetokounmpo? Leave your opinion in the comments.